Hey, y'all. On today's podcast, we help a truck driver start an online business.
Welcome to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast, where life always comes before work. We're your hosts, Shane and Jocelyn Sams. We're a real family that figured out how to make our entire living online. And now, we help other families do the same. Are you ready to flip your life? All right, let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. It is great to be back with you again today. We are super excited to have another member of the Flip Your Life community on the show so that we can help them find their idea, start, build, and grow their own online business, just like we have and just like hundreds of other people have in the Flip Your Life community. Super excited to welcome our guest today, Brian Goodwin. Brian, welcome to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast.
Hey, guys, I appreciate y'all having me on here today.
And I think this is a first, Brian, because we're going to get into your story here in just a second. Brian is a truck driver, and we are actually recording this podcast. He is in his truck on the side of the road right now, right?
Not driving.
He's not driving, but he is in it. This is the first time I think anyone's ever recorded a podcast with us inside of a semi truck. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Well, actually, I've heard just about all y'all's episodes, so it's. I think, the first one y'all had someone that was a truck driver, or there is a truck driver. No, there's a truck driver in the forums. But
that's right, there is. I remember that podcast, but they were not actually in their truck.
Yeah, they weren't actually in the truck.
That's where you took it to the next level, Brian. You took it to the next level.
Glad I could do that.
So I'm just curious, I know you spend a lot of time on the road. I'm sure that you listen to a lot of different stuff, but how did you discover us, and have you listened to everything?
How I actually found you, I'm not 100%. I believe what happened is I was just looking for a business podcast. I was looking for some more information on businesses because I listen to Cliff Ravenscraft and things like that. And just y'all's came up. And so I decided, let's give them a try, and started listening, and I don't know, got all the way up to one particular episode. And I was like, all right, well, they've got me pretty much sold. I've got this, but I want to see what else I can learn. So I jumped all the way back and started with episode 1, which I actually had to manually download the first 30 because y'all had already cleared the 300 mark by that time. So I had to manually download the first 30 and then go from 30 all the way up to what I'd listened to at that time. So I've listened to a whole lot of Shane and Jocelyn Sams.
Bless your heart.
Hey, listen, right, bless your heart, man. And I know we had you hooked here because I've heard you say y'all about 5 times, and as soon as you heard that hey y'all at the beginning of the show, you're like, wait a minute.
I know.
These are my peeps. I've got my people.
Yeah, so I was curious about that because I know you spend a lot of time driving and you probably spend a lot of time listening.
Well, I'm glad that we have kept you company on many miles of road.
Yep.
And hopefully we can help you take everything to the next level of what you're doing. And maybe someday we'll get you off the road. That's
the objective.
All right. So you are a driver right now, and tell us just a little bit more about your life, about your background, and then we'll sort of get into more of the business side.
Okay. I've been driving truck for about 11 years now, and I drive for the oil field. I actually just haul what's called frac sand from quarries and stuff like that and take them out to where they do the hydraulic fracking at. And they use the sand actually as a means to just kind of to prop the cracks in the rock up. I won't go into the details on what fracking is because that just goes completely off rails. But
we've been known to go off the rails a little bit here on the show. Man. Okay,
but so this is all Greek to me. I have no idea what all this means.
Jocelyn, I just heard sand, and I was like, "Sweet sand." Okay, there's a big truck of sand. Brian's at the wheel. Here we go.
Yeah. So the issue that I run into is that I am subjective to the swings in the market. So if oil field, natural gas and oil prices are really high, then all right, I get to have steak and go out and have fun. But if they fall through the floor, I'm eating Cheerios out of a tin-full bowl. There's a lot of feast and a lot of famine, and you don't really know when one is going to come upon you and when the other one's going to leave. So just the swings. I'm just not enjoying the trucking life anymore, and I've always wanted to get myself out of the truck after about I don't know, probably about 7 years of it, and that's when I really started diving into podcasts and started trying to come up with different ideas. I mean, I've ran podcasts and blogs for I don't know, probably about 10 of those years, but just I'm to the point now to where it's like, all right, I've got to start trying something. I've sat there and I've played at poking the bear a bit. Now let's go ahead and let's wrestle the guy down to the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Well, tell me about your driving. So do you drive far away? Is it mostly more locally? I know you live in Oklahoma, right?
Right. It's mostly just regional. There's been a couple times where we've had to go grab sand at some really odd places. I've gone all the way up from Oklahoma all the way to Pennsylvania to pick up a load.
Whoa!
Get halfway, yeah, go and get halfway back for the oil company that we were hauling for to go. Yeah, that sand you got. Never mind, we don't need it. Go take it back. So,
oh my God. I think you just also set the record for the longest commute of anyone who's been on the show. I got this 24-hour commute, guys, and I really like to shake it. So maybe this online business thing could like open some doors for me.
Opens the door, exactly. So it was. But most of the time it is just around the western Oklahoma area, western Texas, Texas Panhandle area. May go up into Kansas just a little bit, but most of it's Oklahoma.
Just a lot of moving down the road, man. A lot of lonely times on the road, right?
Yep. A lot of I-40.
All right. So you've been doing this driving thing for quite a while. You decided, okay, this is not the life that I want long term. So tell us a little bit about how you decided to start something online and what it is that you're doing.
All right. Started out, one of the podcasts I listen to is Late Night Internet Marketing. And Mark Mason is the host there, and he had talked about how he was doing drop shipping. I was like, all right, hey, because I'd kind of heard about it and I'd wondered how do you get into drop shipping, thinking that would be, better than having a room in the back packed full of inventory.
So let me explain what drop shipping is, because some listeners may not know. Drop shipping is basically where you are responsible for selling goods, but they're kept at another location. So like if you fulfill, like you may have like a big inventory that's kept at a factory and you just sell it online, the order goes to the factory or the warehouse or whatever. They send it out. Like you're just responsible for basically selling it. You buy the goods, they're kept somewhere else, they're shipped from somewhere else. And so you never touch the stuff. You're just responsible for the marketing and the sales and getting it actually ordered by people.
Precisely. And so I thought, hey, that'd be a great idea. That's really easy to get all set up. So I went over to one of the little online store areas that you could set one up for about $30 a month and tried that out, and just threw 3 to 6 months worth of $30 payments out the window, and didn't make sale. But I liked what the premise was about, but just because I was focusing more on just, it's just the guy lifestyle, just being the guy. That's kind of what I've always.
What kind of products were they that you were trying to sell?
Well, there were anything from some of the unique, like whiskey glasses and decanters. And so you had kind of like the smoky bar room
gotcha.
Vibe to it.
Stereotypical man stuff.
Yeah. Stereotypical is the best way to put it. Yes, sir. As stereotypical man stuff that was just, it was neat looking and stuff. Just wasn't just a normal glass. It was like a glass that looked like it was kind of twisted or things like that. So, but anyhow, so went from that and just realized that I wasn't making any money. I wasn't making any sales. The closest I'd get, the software that was in the background would say that the sell was done in a very sketchy way, and so it's probably a stolen credit card. So I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to sit here and put myself at risk for and be on the hook for a bad sell.
Right.
So I went ahead and I decided I'll ditch that and go back into what I really like to do. I like to write. I like to blog. I like to write and just kind of go blog and do affiliate marketing things like that. And that's where Relaxed Male come from. And it's just kind of progressed. And every time I progress a little, about once a year, it seems like I'll get just a little more focused and a little more focused. So it was guys' lifestyle. And it's like, no, let's talk about guys and getting them leadership and keeping the outdoor element to it, because I think getting people outside and being outdoors and stuff like that's really important for people as a whole, and for men more in particular. And so I've gotten down to where now it's men's coaching, men's outdoor coaching is what I'm focusing into.
I love this journey. Okay. Cause you said some really interesting things there. One, just like to combat stereotypes a little bit, so since we're stereotypically talking about men's stuff we're selling, let's combat some stereotypes. Like you wouldn't think you talk to a truck driver, we all have this Americana image of a, good old truck driver driving down the road, a manly man working with his hands and all this stuff. And but you're like, I'm a truck driver and I love to write. Yeah. I thought about what I really like to do, and I was waiting for you to be like, fix diesel engines or something like that, right? But you're like, I just love to write and I just want to blog. And but it's so funny. We live in this weird world now where man, that is true. It's like we all are a weird conglomerate of interests now because of the internet, because of online, because of the way the world works now. And it's like, yeah, man, a truck driver can love to blog and he can get his message out there. And this truck driver, you probably have a lot of anxiety about meeting deadlines and stress getting the sand where it needs to be and blah, blah, blah. And there's people yelling at you and all this stuff. And man, you just go home and on the weekends, you're like, I'm getting out and I'm going outside, going for a hike, going to hunt, fish, whatever you do. But you do something outside to relax. And you've learned how to manage this crazy lifestyle of driving to Pennsylvania from Oklahoma every once in a while. Right. And
right.
And you've learned how to manage this. And now it's like you want to mentor other maybe men how to do this. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's also a lot of family stress, I would imagine, that goes along with this type of job too.
Yeah. Just being away from everybody and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. That's one of the big things about in the oil field is you're on call. It's not all right, it's Monday morning, it's time to hop in the truck and go drive around. It's all right, it's time to head out, and it's 11 o'clock at night, and they're like, hey, we've got one trucking company messed up, so they're needing some loads. So I need you and about 5 other guys to hop in y'all's trucks and head out to go grab some sand. So it was kind of a running joke at the company, which is an amazing company. I'm not disparaging them in the least, because the company I would drive for, they're great folks. But there was more than one time where I would be, 2 hours down the road going to the city, and I would get a call just as I crossed into the city limits, and they would be like, hey, we need you to go ahead and go on a run. It's like, oh man, all right, well, I'll be there I'll be back in about 2 hours. So
crazy, man. Yeah,
because we'd sat there for 2 days beforehand with nothing, and so it's like, all right, let's get some errands run.
But the crazy thing is, though, Brian, this is the life that a lot of people live. I mean, there's millions of truck drivers. There's millions of people that are on call. Everybody from truck drivers to doctors.
Precisely.
And that disruptive, not being able to plan things ahead lifestyle can make you feel out of control. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening right now. You don't feel like you have control of your schedule. You feel like you're at the whim of the markets and everybody else. And that's just the world works. I mean, we all got to grind. We've all got to do things. Right. We all have to meet expectations of others and ourselves. And managing the anxiety of that, managing the stress of that is really half the battle toward living like a flipped lifestyle. We've talked a lot about this lately. I don't want to pigeonhole the flipped lifestyle into, totally 100%. You've quit your job. You're making money with digital products, whatever.
Life is good.
Yeah, life is good. That's not what it is. It's more like, it's more like being able to create a life where you feel in control, right? That's the flip lifestyle. And if you can just manage your anxiety and stress, that might be the first step of, hey, I've got joy back in my life to enjoy what I'm doing now. And then I can do something else later too and change what I'm doing. So, I think it's a super worthy mission. And I think it's an amazing idea. I love that you're I could just picture you like driving down the road in your semi truck, but your wheels, like you listen to a podcast and you just turn it off, sitting in silence, thinking about your next blog post like that. And for some reason, that makes me like really gloriously happy. Like that's awesome.
Okay, your website is relaxedmail.com.
Which is a great 2-word domain name, by the way.
And you've tried a couple different things on this, right? So let's talk a little bit about that.
I've tried a couple of different things. First off, like I said, I was doing affiliates and realized it didn't work. So focused in on more of a service, just because I had the epiphany that I wanted to help people. And I've done that for, ever since I was little, I would try to find a way of helping people out. And so naturally wanted to start doing coaching. And so that's where I started getting into how to coach and wanted to run blog posts about how to help guys through, the different challenges that they're running into through today's society. A lot of the posts are, maybe a little on the touchy feely side, but at the same time, there's also a touch of woo woo into it. So there's a method to it. And I've been trying to just kind of use the blog as a means to map out a good solution. And I've got a couple different ways that I like to take that.
Cool. I pictured it. It's like Brian Goodwin, the touchy-feely truck driver. Like I just pictured you said that. Which can actually be totally misinterpreted in a terrible way. So we're not going to call you the touchy-feely truck driver. I do not want to do that. Okay. Right. I don't want to go there. But I think all can just be friends here and know what we mean. Okay.
Let's make you're clear.
Let's steer clear of the touchy-feely truck. I think Relaxed Mail is a much better choice of a domain name than the touchy-feely truck driver. Okay?
Yeah, that would be definitely.
That might be a terrible like made for TV movie someday if we just go there. All right. I love your website. I'm looking at your website. You're doing a lot of things great. You've got a great like your website at the top says reconnecting leaders to nature. I want to talk about that in a little bit. Love your logo. It's a stick man leaning back on a mountain like he's in a hammock though. Like that's pretty genius, and it looks amazing. And then like all your imagery is very like it's very good. It's very like it's manly. Like you have this picture of this tent that's on this by this campfire by this lake with mountains, and it was like someone pulled over their truck in Colorado, went and slept under the stars. You know what I'm saying? And,
right.
And then you got like this big picture of a chain, and it's your writing is very good. It's very like very plain spoken. It sounds like you're not trying, like it says, I love how you started your about page with, this was going to be an online stores for guys. I was going to try some drop shipping. Then as I was writing the blog post, the store fell away and I closed it. I love how decisive that is. The store was not important. I wanted to talk about the adventure of being a guy. And then you just go into talking about like basically what you just said. Like your writing is very good, like very, very good. Is that plain English, Jocelyn? Very good. Or should I say you write well? Does that sound better?
Either way
would be correct. Okay. All right. I'm just making sure all the grammar police aren't out there like pulling me over. All right. Y'all write good. You write real good, man. You know what I mean? All right. So like,
all right.
We're all right. We're all right. All right. But like your website's beautiful. You write well. You've got awesome imagery. Like you're doing a lot of things right, and I can see how this has evolved by just sitting here and looking at your site. I love you've got a pop-up opt-in and a hero bar at the top waiting for opt-in. I mean, that's good. Have you been able to collect some emails and stuff like that?
No, my email list is very hard earned, and I've actually had 2 new ones sign up just within a couple of weeks.
Awesome, man. Those are real humans, man. Everyone counts. You know what I mean?
So I avoid like the plague to say I have just X number of opt-ins, because I think I have a low number, but I mentioned something about it on the blog and some about just the visits, and people were like, "Well, that's better than what I'm getting." So,
how much traffic do you get right now?
This month here, I apparently have done something correct, because I'm up to about 10 to 30 people a day visiting.
I'll tell you what you did correct. You joined the Flip Lifestyle community, man. You went into the Flip Your Life community and you said, "Hey, I'm doing something right around here." And everybody said, "I'm paying attention." So they showed up, right? That's great. Like that's good for 30 or 40 emails a month if you do it right. So, all right. So you got the blog, you've got some direction. You got some opt-ins and things like that. Let's talk about how we're going to grow this thing.
All right. So you have the website. You are no longer selling items that are being drop shipped. And I'm just kind of looking at it here. I don't really see any form of monetization right now. Would that be accurate?
No, there is some up at the top where you'll see coaching. Coaching and the mastermind are
I see it. It's
the monetization areas.
There's buttons below the fold. So we need to get those above the fold for sure.
Okay, well, there's also the, so I need to work on
the menu
buttons.
Yeah, I see the menu bar now. I see it. Yeah. It's just kind of hidden a little bit.
Okay.
It's not prominent, basically.
Okay.
But that's okay.
So we have that. What is holding you back right now?
Like what kind of internal fears or doubts, or maybe an external obstacle like technical challenges or something? Like what's kind of keeping you from moving forward? Because it looks like you're doing a lot of things right. So what's stopping you?
And I have where I want to be. I have a vision of how I want Relaxed Mail to look. I want to be able to not have grand conferences, but you have maybe a yearly gathering of some of the of guys who are able to get together, and we go out to do a week-long camping expedition out in the middle of the Grand Tetons or something like that. I have this vision of that, but I'm not exactly sure how to progress into that, to get on the right road to go to that dream. I see coaching and masterminds as kind of a way to start, get the ball rolling, but I'm not 100% sure if that's really the best way. Or right now I feel like I'm trying, but I'm just not making any headway. I don't know if it's just me being impatient or what, but it's just, that's precisely what I'm feeling. It's like I've been hammering at this for totally, the blog is almost 2 years old, which everything I've heard and read and understand about blogs, I'm just right there at that point where a lot of times you start building critical mass and everything takes off out of nowhere. But I've also done blogs that lasted 4 years and stayed, around 10, 15 visitors a day.
That's right.
And so I don't know if I'm always am I focusing too much on the visitors? Is that am I too obsessed with my numbers and just keep chipping away, and eventually something's going to break, and I'm going to all of a sudden have people paying attention, or what? Am I making myself anywhere clear, or am I about as clear as mud?
No, listen, I guarantee you that there are thousands of people listening to this podcast right now in their cars, on treadmills, or wherever they're at, and they're shaking their head like, that's totally me. Right? Like that's part of the journey. There's 4 phases of entrepreneurship. Jocelyn and I we call it the flipped life cycle, right? So At first you become like a yearner. You want to you yearn for more, right? You want more. There's something else. It's almost like you're out on a hike and you're standing on one side of the mountain, and there's something cool on the other side of that mountain, right? You yearn for it, but you don't really like do it. So then you learn, right? You start learning about online business. You start learning about all the things that go, right? You start learning about how to start a blog, how to do these things. And it's kind of like learning the trail that takes you to the top of that mountain to see what's on the other side.
And a lot of people never get past that.
That's exactly right. And then what happens is you move, you shift, and you actually go on the trail, right? You start walking, right? And this is where, you want to go become an earner. You want to take all these things you learned, take action on them, and go earn some money, right? But before that is the grind. Like you got to sweat, you got to hump it, you got to pull it up, you got to climb the mountain. But then here's what freaks people out. They grind for all this time. They get to the top of the trail that they learned about. They look over and they realize that there's a huge valley with no trail, and they got to get to the mountaintop on the other side. Right. And that's where a lot of people quit. And that's kind of where you are right now. You went to the top of the mountain. You're getting traffic. You're getting some emails. You're getting some traction. Your idea is kind of clarifying into some general concept of what you want it to be. And then you realize, oh crap, there's still a lot of work left to do. You know what I mean? And like that, yeah. but that's kind of what happens. You have to go through the grind, and then there is a tipping point where you start earning money, and then everything just starts burning it up. You figure it out, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of like the path. And like you're kind of at the edge of the grind. Like you're kind of coming out of it like, man, if I just could put this together, I think it's like a puzzle that you've poured out. You see all the pieces. There's a picture on the box, and you're just not sure where the corners are yet. Right.
Right. Okay.
And that's where a lot of people are. And what we want to do is we want to get you like to the next level. So I think the best use of our time here is probably clarifying this idea, right? We've got to take the fuzzy picture and we got to turn the knob and we got to bring it into focus. Okay. So let's talk about really the mission of Relaxed Male first. Like, I think you're onto something here about a mentorship and a coaching program. I know a lot of people that do this really well. There's a guy named Aaron Walker. His brand is called A View from the Top. You ever heard of Aaron?
Oh yes, yeah. Aaron's Big A. So.
Big A, man.
Yeah. Shane loves Big A.
I love Big A. I've met the guy, and I have some friends who like hang out with him. Some, I mean, gosh, what a genuine soul and human being. He's got this Facebook series, and every morning he goes for a walk. And he goes, "What's going on? It's Big A coming to you live from the Nashville Green." Whatever. Yeah, right. It's hilarious. But anyway, but I know a lot of men that are in his mastermind. He's got a mastermind. It's called Iron Sharpens Iron, and you know, and he just wanted to take his mentorship to these people, you know. And he has it's an expensive mastermind, but it's work. You know, they do trips like this, but they don't do like hiking. They like meet at a hotel or something. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's a different vibe than what you're doing, but it's definitely taking your life experience, finding guys that need it. And you know, a lot of guys need this, like, hey, reconnect with nature, get rid of this anxiety from your job. Let me show you how to, listen to how stressful my job is. And I figured it out. So I can totally help you figure it out. So you're more than qualified and worthy to do this. Okay. But I want to talk to you about your mission. I think your mission is a little too broad. Okay. The Relaxed Male is fine. That's a good domain name. We can use that. But it says reconnecting leaders to nature. Okay.
Right.
And I think that's influenced maybe from hearing other podcasts, and a lot of people do stuff like that, like, you know, leadership and whatever.
It sounds nice.
It sounds nice, but it's so like, what is a leader? Who are you really talking to? Like, I'm just wondering if you wouldn't reconnect down. Like, imagine if this said, let's go super hyper specific first and broaden back out. What if it said reconnecting truck drivers to nature? Right? Okay. Like, you are a truck driver. Like, what if every truck driver in America listened to your podcast or read your blog at the truck stop? Or, you know, there's millions of truck drivers out there, and they're probably as stressed out as you were until you figured out, dang, man, if I just go out and camp for a few days, I feel so much better about that drive to Pennsylvania. You know what I mean? And like, okay. You know, so like maybe it's just a tightening of the message to draw in super high quality traffic. Like, you can get 30 hits a day on a blog, but if every one of them join your list because they're targeted, you're getting 30 emails a day. So it's not about the bulk of traffic. It's about the quality of traffic. Okay. And like, I could even see maybe it expanding out to more like reconnecting blue collar workers to nature, right? Guys that are out there. I mean, these are manly men who are, you know, what about the mechanic that's working on the trucks? What about the guys on the oil field that are taking the sand out and putting it where it needs to go? Like I think if you could just focus in a little tighter, you're going to have a better chance of resonating, because it's not about getting attention. It's about resonating with the people who are paying attention.
Because right now, when I look at your website, just on first glance, it reminds me of some type of yoga retreat or something. And I don't feel like that's who you are.
Yeah. Right. Right. I mean, it's more like being the meditative quality of being in the tent. It's not about sitting around going to warm with yoga mats on the side of the lake, right?
So I think where we are right now is you have to decide, okay, who am I and what problem am I solving for people in a unique way? And that's what your site needs to say, and that's where your content needs to go.
And you have you also have to create competitive advantage with your idea. Like, right? Like, take the Flipped Lifestyle podcast. When we were thinking about the Flipped Lifestyle podcast, we started looking at other podcasts and saying, well, what are these other guru people doing? Right? Like, we know we can teach this. We've taught people in real life. Like, how can we be different? Okay. Right. And how can we resonate? Well, the first thing we said was, we've got to both be on the podcast. Like, there's nobody else that's a husband and wife team doing what we're doing. Right. Or at least not doing it as good as we can do it. Okay. So that was one differentiator. So let's talk. And then we said, let's exclude, you know, solopreneur, single people, like 20-something millennials running around, you know, Thailand on $6 a day. Right. Like, we don't want to talk to them. We want to talk to families. We want to talk to, like, we can talk to single people, but we want them to have kids. We can talk to married people, but we want them to have kids. And we decided that we would talk to families. We would talk to adults who are raising children, who wanted to go out and start their own online business, right? We would talk to people who had real responsibilities, like keeping other people alive and making, and a real 9-to-5 job, right?
Right.
So like by if you can think, what's my unfair advantage? I've been in a truck for 11 years. Who's a truck driver going to listen to? Another truck driver or some random other person who's trying to tell them to connect with nature, right? Who's a guy working on the oil fields going to listen to? A guy that understands what he's dealing with. Like your anxiety is different than our anxiety, right? So like if you can really hone in and just like if there was I'd love to see a picture of you on the about page, like in your truck, like someone takes a picture of you like leaning out the window and be like, "Hi, I'm Brian. I'm a truck driver. I understand you. Let's go on a hike." Right? Like that would like that. Like when a guy sees that, he wants to opt in, right? Because like that dude gets me. I think back when when I was looking for somebody to follow, like I looked at a bunch of gurus. Like I ran through the Ravenscrafts and the Brian Masons and the Timothy Ferrisses and Gary Vaynerchuk's and all this. But I connected with Pat Flynn of the Smart Passive Income podcast for one reason and one reason only. When I went to his blog, at the very top above the fold was a picture of him holding his son, who was the same age as mine. I didn't know Pat Flynn from Adam. I didn't know what he was talking about. I didn't know what his podcast was about, but I did know this. He had a son, and he had the same concerns I did about that little boy, and I needed to go and listen to him. Right. So like, I think that's where you're too broad right now is it's just too leadership and male. And like, I get it. It's every man who could ever possibly lead anyone, but like, that's not where we got to be at. Does that make sense?
And we've said, like if you're targeting everyone, you target no one.
No one. Yeah. All right. And so yeah, I can see. Is blue collar at this moment still too broad?
I don't think it not necessarily. Usually it works better when you start really targeted. But like, like truck driver is still pretty narrow. Like you don't want to also exclude people, right? Like blue collar like makes sense because it's like you could say something like, the blue collar man has a different kind of stress, a different kind of anxiety than business people do. We're out and we're doing physical things that could kill us. You know what I'm saying? Like we're risking our lives every day to make industry move, right? Like, when I pull the lever on that thing of sand, if I'm in the way, whatever, like if you're working on a car, you could break your hand or cut yourself or whatever. Like you're constantly on call. You never know when you're going to be needed. Like there's just a different way to like present that. But like a lot of blue collar people can totally relate to that. Like a mechanic, from an oil field worker, from a truck driver, from a logger, from a whatever, is going to be able to like understand what you're talking about.
And just remember that you don't have to necessarily like use that in your language. Okay. And what I mean by that is Shane and I on our website, we don't say we only target families and people with children. Like we don't explicitly say that. We just put pictures of ourselves with our kids. Do people follow us who don't have kids? Yeah. And that's okay. But, in our minds, we're marketing to the people who are parents with children. Okay.
Yeah. And you could also say like it says reconnecting leaders to nature. That's cool. But like, what if it just said, what if it said this, the relaxed male reconnecting working men to nature?
And that's what I was going to say is that you can use your language to allude to that without explicitly saying that, if that makes sense.
Like any person who's working could consider themselves a working man. But but we all know that like stereotypically when you hear about a working man, you're talking about a blue collar guy going out and using his hands and doing stuff like that. Right.
Right. Okay.
So does that sort of make sense and fit that you think you're going?
Yes. It helps out tremendously. I was had a kind of a little adjustment made last week with the mastermind group I'm with. They were pointing out that I was being even more broad with one of the lead magnets, one of the opt-ins forms that I had on the site. I wasn't even mentioning men. It was self-coaching tools for a better life. And it's like, well, what does that even mean, really? And who is that supposed to really be attract to? So they were like, well, you're about guys, so why don't you start incorporating, guys into that? And so from here, I can see just nudge that down even granular.
Yeah, like right here it says 14 of the best morning routines, and it's just a name and thing, right?
Right.
But what if that said, forget 14, that's too many. What if it said the best morning routine for working men? No way they don't know it's them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like you got this other opt-in, I'm looking through your site and it says, get 4 self-coaching tools to beat anxiety. Like what if that said, working men experience a different kind of anxiety, ... And then the subheading said, get 4 self-coaching tools to help the working man beat anxiety or something like that, right?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like we can grammarize this a little bit better later on. Like right now we're just trying to get it on the mud on the wall. So, and like your pictures, like on this picture, I'm looking at your above the fold hero image, right? It's this beautiful picture of a tent sitting on a side of a lake looking down into like a valley. Like, I don't even know where that is. You know what I'm saying? But it's gorgeous. But like, what if that was actually like a truck driving down the road?
The about page needs to be a picture of you driving your truck.
For sure. And like even your front images, if it was like what if it was like, a truck, a huge open like cinematography spread of a truck going down the road, but it was driving through the mountains of Colorado. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of tied in this like image of truckery and cars and going down the road but into nature or something like that. Like and like and then like instead of this picture of the tent that you've got and like on one scroll down, like that could be a picture of people working in an oil field. You know what I mean? And like when we could about 50% of your images are nature and about 50% of them are what we would consider blue collar jobs, right?
Okay.
Truckers, miners, whatever,
Okay, got you there. Yeah.
And now imagine then how much easier it would be to sell this thing. Hey guys, I'm Brian. I'm a working man. I drive a truck. I know what you go through on a daily basis. I've been doing this for over a decade. And I know that your job, while it's paying the bills and you're taking care of your family, you're doing a great job, but you're stressed. You got a lot of anxiety. You're having trouble managing your working job and your life with your family. Well, I've started mentoring people in my, the relaxed male coaching program, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to tell you how on a daily basis to get rid of the anxiety, get rid of all that stress. And I'm going to make sure that not only can you go do your job that you love to do, but you can come home and be with your family. You can come home and go out into nature and be there with yourself so that you're a balanced working man or something. That'd be an awesome name for it, like the balanced working man or something like that. I don't know. Have a guy standing up on top of a oil rig or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that. But by niching down and really communicating who you're talking to, your blog posts are going to get more traffic. Those posts are going to get more opt-ins, and you're going to have a much clearer picture of what you want to like teach people. Does that make sense?
I believe I'm seeing that. Yes, sir.
Does that clarify maybe how you could actually even teach your mentors in your coaching program?
I think it helps at least give me a better direction on how to point to them. I realize how scattered I am with the information, and I'm just kind of talking to too broad of an audience. So yeah, I definitely see where if I was to just take that and just squeeze it down to, even blue collar. Oh, heck, I could even do for the oil field. I mean, that would.
Oh, that's a huge industry. You know what I'm saying? Natural gas, oil, truck. That's the truckers, the drillers, the unloaders, the loaders, everybody.
I can even
precisely
this maybe going into like you could sell to corporate, to companies that maybe.
Oh gosh, that would be huge. Make a deal with a company.
And like maybe they want their workers to have a better quality of life, and you can market to them.
Oh wow, that's really good. Really, really good.
Okay, Brian, I think some really good stuff has come out of this conversation today, and I can't wait to see where you take this. And we always ask our guests before we go, what is one thing that you plan to do in the next day or so based on what we talked about on this call?
Well, that is definitely going to be niching all the way down. I think I'm going to either focus in on the oil field angle a lot more, get the language changed, and start just making sure that I have that particular guy in mind whenever I'm start rewriting some of the sales pages and things like that.
And also, as you've got coaching and mentoring down there, like you can really focus hard on your product, because it'll help you when you blog if you know what that coaching and program is going to look like, right? And you know what that happens, and you know what you're pointing your stuff to get something sold. It's going to make it a lot easier to write opt-ins, a lot easier to write blog posts, and it's going to make a lot of difference. Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys, that wraps up another great conversation with one of our Flip Your Life community members. It is awesome to see someone get focus on their idea, because with great focus on your idea, that's what leads to an awesome product. That's what leads to an amazing platform. And that's what leads to making money online and replacing your income so that you can quit your job and live the life you want. We would love to help you inside of our Flip Your Life community. All you have to do to learn more about the community is go to flippedlifestyle.com/flipyourlife. You can read about all of the amazing courses that we have inside to guide you through the process of starting, building, and growing your own online business. You can check out all of the amazing forums with our community of hundreds of family-focused entrepreneurs from around the world to rally around you and support you in your dreams. And of course, me and Jocelyn will be in there right with you all along the way. So go to flippedlifestyle.com/flipyourlife and check out the community today. We would also love to meet you live and in person in Lexington, Kentucky on September 19th through the 21st at Flip Your Life Live. This is our Flip Your Life family reunion. It is our conference that we hold for all of our listeners of the Flip Lifestyle podcast and everybody that's a part of our Flip Your Life community. We would love to see you in Lexington. You can get your ticket now at flippedlifestyle.com/live. That's LIVE. But you want to hurry, because we are almost sold out and tickets will not be sold after August 30th. So you've got to get your ticket right now if you're going to get one. We only have a few left. It's in the teens, guys. Those seats are going to fill up, and we are not adding any more chairs inside of the venue. And guess what? We are not doing this event in 2020. This is your last chance to come to Flip Your Life Live, the big conference that we've been holding for the past couple of years for our Flip Your Life community and Flip Lifestyle podcast listeners. So go to flippedlifestyle.com/live right now so that you can get your tickets before they sell out. All right, guys, that is all the time that we have for today. But before we go, we're super excited because Brian has a Bible verse that he wants to share with you guys. Jocelyn and I get a lot of our inspiration and motivation from the Bible for our business and our life. And we love it when our guests have a verse that they want to share with everybody. So Brian, take it away.
My Bible verse is Isaiah 41:10, and it reads, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Just completely dig that verse, just because if you're ever feeling overwhelmed, you know that you don't have to live a life in fear. And fear is one of the big things that I like to talk about on my side itself. But there's always something you can use from God. He will actually help you out. You don't have to live a life of fear and worry that you're going to mess something up, because God's there to actually help you out.
Woo, that was a great Bible verse from Brian. I love anytime the Bible says, do not fear. We talk about this all the time with our kids. You know, the Bible says, do not fear, or some permutation of that phrase, like 365 times. I mean, the Bible gave us a do not fear quote for every single day of the year, y'all. So go out there in a fearless way. Don't be afraid to pursue and chase your dreams. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's everything to gain. You've just got to take action and go get it done. That's all we've got for today, y'all. So until next time, get out there, take action, and do whatever it takes to flip your life. We'll see you then.
Bye.
That's a much better bye than the last podcast where you choked. Jocelyn last time went, bye. She's had a cough for like a month. You know what I mean?
Yes,
yeah.
Crazy.
It's driving her insane. Getting it done, man.